Cowboys, rock and roll, best team. All right, so welcome to Football Talk. My name is Roy, right? I'm going to be your host tonight as we discuss how awesome the Cowboys are, how amazing they can finish games now. Again, you know, you got Dak, right, out there, and, you know, just wanted to talk football tonight. That's pretty much all that's on my mind. So, sweet. Let's see, guys. I'm joking. All right, so anyway, it was a fun football game today. I did enjoy that a great deal. But that's not what we're here to talk about tonight. So, like I said, I'm going to do these things at least once a week, probably more. Just want to talk about stuff and things. Feel free to join in, as noted. I'm going to actually update the actual thing that tells what we're talking about. We'll see if anybody else wants to join in tonight, and feel free to talk. Yeah, let's edit that. Edit. And then we'll put up the actual public outline for tonight. We'll change that to the correct date. You have to bear with me as we're going on stuff and over and around things. Okay, so we do that, edit that, do that, do that, and that is done. All right, so now you can see what we're actually going to talk about. That was pretty sneaky. But yeah, no, the Cowboys game was great. A lot of fun. It's great to see them able to close out a game. For those of you that don't know, I am from Dallas, Texas. It's a great place to be from, although we had to move away because of what I'm going to talk about next. First up is a little bit kind of the way the laws work in this country. They recently passed an ordinance during this last game. We're talking election and all the results of that. And again, feel free to join in and comment. I'll try and look down at the comments. I guess I'm not great at that, but I'll try to do it when I can. But I put up a little bit of an outline for tonight, and then some of the stuff I wanted to talk about. Other than that, the first one is kind of the Denver bars, Colorado law, federal law. This is something that's going to be interesting going forward. Denver passed an ordinance during this last election cycle allowing the public consumption of marijuana. So yeah, you can do it like yoga studios and like clubs and things like that. Colorado, the state, passed an ordinance that says you can't sell it at bars, which, again, I'll have to go into exactly what the rules on this. The federal government, not sure if you're familiar with this, but they have a ban entirely on the substance. We'll get to a little bit about that. The person who runs the federal government, portion of that, actually the law enforcement side, is called the Attorney General. And recently this week we saw who has a chance to become the new Attorney General. And it's a man who once said that he used to think the KKK was okay, and then he found out that they smoked pot, and then he had a problem with them. Anyway, we'll get to that. Anyway, so there's various levels in our government, the way laws work. So for those of you overly worried, remember there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. There's a lot of states that will resist against an overly pursuant federal government. Indeed, one would hope that Republican ideology, which calls for a stronger state government and less federal control over the states, will result in more resistance if the federal government becomes overreaching and you have Sessions try to really push his stuff. So one of the fun things about doing stuff like this is people cussing me out and yelling at me. So that's always fun. I was going to read some of those, but I don't know. So I'll get to this a little bit. Do I want to talk about that right now? So threats and harassment. I was going to read and respond to Brad's thing. So people will be like, oh, you fucking idiot, blah, 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 and then block you. And then this part of why I want to do this is to talk to people, and and doing it publicly has certain downsides, and that's one of them, and also there's, professional downsides possibly, so I'm going to try and keep it clean and not try and talk too much to people. But one of the things I need to talk about here is some of the alt-right stuff, and we'll get to this a little bit more, because this is really bad. Let me see when I've got this. Hold on, you'll have to give me moments. So, Central Park 5, racist past and calls for vengeance and violence. So, I'm going to talk real quick about, these are the appointments that were floated this week by the tweeting Cheeto. It's a great name, I love that, by the way. My daughter had another excellent suggestion that I could use if I wanted to, that was just poop face. So if I just reach and go for poop face, I hope you know who I'm talking about. So the Central Park 5. So I don't know if you guys know about this. There was a really bad rape and murder in Central Park a long time ago, and this rich billionaire playboy took out an ad in the newspaper calling for the death of these people whoever found it. And they actually ended up arresting 5 people for it. That's why there's the Central Park 5. And called for their death and execution and reinstatement of the death penalty in order to do this. It turned out later that they were innocent. It wasn't them who had done this horrific act. It was somebody else who confessed to it. Why I bring this all up is because the man that Trump nominated for Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, this last Thursday, indicated that he found that his approach to the Central Park 5 case was a good indication of how he would prosecute the law. So I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to go directly into Bannon's influence on Trump and how the alt-right thinks on races and racism, because this is horribly important for what is going to go on. Let me read this a little bit, because there's something you need to understand about dealing with these people, and I can read you a little bit. Let me see if I can find my comments for this last week and last time. I think I changed that. Oh, don't want to watch yourself. That's weird. Oh, that was the one that I had it on. Okay. But let me read you this real quick. So the alt-right, let me go right into this, because this is Bannon's thing, and this is his people, and this is their philosophy. They have, if you Google alt-right manifesto on Breitbart, you can read about this and about their concepts of race. And Bannon calls himself a nationalist, as if you can drop the whole white nationalist part of it and just ignore that that's a major part of the ideology. But the thing, and the racist part of it, you'll see, you've run into these people online before. I swear to God you have, because they are more numerous than you thought. You're the real racist for bringing up race in a conversation. If you've ever had that kind of stuff go on, what I've got in my notes here real quick says the alt-right doesn't seem to be bothered by being labeled racist, bigoted, a hate group, etc. See, their philosophy about this actually, it goes a little bit deeper than that, and this is the problem. These, a lot of the young men that are part of this group never got to see actual racism in our society, and so their concept of it, having grown up under Obama, so think about it you're a 15 to 20-year-old white male in 2008, right? And for the next 8 years, there's this entire cultural shift, right? And, the white privilege becomes a thing that people talk about, and this, white guilt is huge. And over this whole time, there's an economic recession, and job prospects have, diminished for great portions of the population. So while there is this whole thing, and then you have the whole Black Lives Matter movement, which, again, there's a horrid misunderstanding. If you go read on Breitbart about what they think of BLM, the question about whether or not they're racist just ends, right? But again, their concept of what a racist is anyone who brings race into a conversation. And it's later that you get to the way that they want to rebuild America and make America great. The first thing that they need to do is separate the races. That's why Build the Wall is a big part of it. And those of you who signed on to the whole Trump platform, you need to realize like what motivates it ideologically and where it comes from in that side. I got my phone. There's a Pew poll that came out that indicates this really well. Hold on just a second. Sorry. Pew poll. So if you should be following. Actually, see, it's right there. Told you. Pew poll. See? Pew poll. And you can look at it. And these are the Clinton-Trump voters sharply diverged on seriousness on an array of problems. And these are, if you're not following the Pew Research Center on Facebook, I'd highly recommend you do that. Sorry. Trying to keep high energy to make it fun to watch, which is kind of warm in here. I think I'm actually going to go open the door. Door open time! Whew. I know it makes for stunning TV, not too warm. All right, maybe we'll need a fan. I don't know. We got our first snow this week up here, and it was then like 67 degrees today. So this place is just gorgeous and awesome. But anyway, going back to the racism of the alt-right. So the sense of victimhood that these guys feel is a real thing. And so dealing with this and understanding what's going on. Oh, yeah, Pew poll. Sorry, guys. So the four biggest issues are illegal immigration, terrorism, job opportunities for working-class Americans, and crime. And the problem with these is these are all like, oh, brown people, white people, brown people. So, but again, for the alt-right notion, these aren't racism issues, right? These are nationalism issues, right? Illegal immigration isn't a race thing, it's a national issue. And Bannon calls himself an economic nationalist. That's why Build That Wall is so important, because you have to separate the races. And the alt-right theory on race and culture is that they're the same, right? The race equals culture. And that they are defending Western culture and Judeo-Christian culture, what they call, which essentially is, white, Caucasian, European culture. It's straightforward, guys. If you just go read the stuff, they're direct about it, and that's why you see these really odd conversations and these profiles on Facebook. A lot of them are fake. You'll see if you try and look at them, but a lot of these guys also they're in their 20s or young, maybe early 30s, and you have these weird conversations where it's like, well, that's totally, the birther thing is totally racist. Of course, it's obviously, you're just dismissing him because you're claiming he's not here. Well, you're racist for talking about this. And it's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, this is the alt-right philosophy, and this is the notion that, again, racism isn't the structural, just oppression of people, or, assuming that everybody who's like this is a criminal or more likely to be a criminal or stuff like that. No. Racism is bringing up race in a discussion. Because we should just, as an assumption, separate all the races and then talk about problems. Then this, again, the ideology of the alt-right is explicitly racist by any other definition but their own of what that word means. And as you run into these people, you'll see this come up and again and again. And this is why it's so difficult to get past this. And this strange point just happens, and these conversations spiral out of control. And then all of a sudden you're like, what? How could I possibly be the racist here? Anyway, so that's what happens a lot with these people. And the outrage against Obama and the rise. And there's also, it's very sexist. And very women-hating and trying to put them back in their place. That's where you have the mix of these men's rights activists and the pickup artists and then these older divorced men. And just, it's very male, very outraged, very put upon. And again, move to equality from privilege feels like oppression. And so that's a lot of what we're dealing with. It's a real thing out there. Excuse me. Whew. We're going to cut to a commercial, and give me a few minutes to do that. All right, so, now moving on. So that's what I want to talk about, a lot about the alt-right. I think I covered a lot of that. And if you have any questions, please feel free It's kind of a dangerous, whacked out group, and it's all on Breitbart is one of the hubs for it, media wise. If you see someone linked to Breitbart or try and use that as a media source in a discussion, you'd be like, oh, so you're one of those white nationalists, huh? And directly, you got to ask them about it and talk about, splitting up the races, because they'll walk around it, but when you know that that's a part of the ideology, you can cut directly to it and make the discussion quite awkward for them, as they claim that you're the real racist for bringing up race when they want to separate them by big walls and then bomb them. So all the people that Trump is putting into is putting in office are very, very Islamophobic, very, very attacking Islam as the reason and the problem in the world. So again, this feeds into that same cultural clash. They're very big on the cultural clash, and want to promote it as a big thing. They do have a very big vision, I think. I've read a few of Bannon's interviews, and definitely he's pushing for big time on the world changes. So keep an eye on that. Alright, so switching totally to something else, I wanted to talk about is WikiLeaks and the end of privacy. This is kind of a weird thing, and I know this is kind of a alternate thing, but I wanted to talk about it, get it on record. I guess I should have talked about more fun stuff, because I know you guys want to talk about how ridiculous that guy is, but we need to keep an eye on what happened during this last election. For those who don't recall, Watergate, the original Watergate, was a break-in attempt at the DNC to try and get information about strategy and whatnot. The WikiLeaks thing that happened during this last election cycle was basically like if they had got in there, gotten everything, released it, and then a newspaper started publishing it. Kind of a big deal, right? One would think, right? You have insider information on a campaign being released by foreign agents to influence an election. That worked and that was allowed to work and go on is, of course, a bad thing. We've broken so many precedents. So many precedents over this last week already. Even keeping up with that is a bit much. So I'm going to move right to that kind of stuff. But the WikiLeaks thing and the end of privacy, this is going to be an issue we'll return to. If I see some good reporting on that, I'll bring your attention to it. I'm going to throw up a bunch of links also at the end of this. So it can be some follow-up reading or whatnot. Just to be devil's advocate, are you talking about the end of privacy on Facebook Live? Yeah, kinda. See, that's one of those things that, yeah, I have to give up some of my own privacy to do this, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. But I'm talking more of just when we endorse this kind of hacking and allow it. And Rubio actually made this point during the campaign, guys, if we let this happen, we're all, this is all open season on everybody, and that becomes the new journalism, is just hacking somebody's laptop. So, it's going to be awkward. It's going to be a little weird. So, there's a word that I learned this week. I knew it existed. It's in the Constitution. It is something that says, Article 1, Section 9, Clause 8. No title of nobility shall be granted by the United States, and no person holding any office of profit or trust under them shall, without the consent of Congress, accept any present, emolument, office or title of any kind whatever from any king, prince, or foreign state. The word there being emolument meaning a salary, fee, or profit from employment or office. In this case, the emolument would be, say, I don't know, somebody has their name on a building in a foreign country that's been licensed by a foreign government. That foreign government is paying that person to license that name, which now has added value because of the office that person holds for the United States of America. That emolument immediately conflicts with the law. So, unless Congress will, from what the Republicans are already saying, they're going to pass laws to be like they'll be like the Trump excuse for letting him do this. I think that's my prediction right now. There's so much conflict of interest involved in this, and it's so obvious. Just even what happened already, that was the emolument. The whole notion of this whole blind trust, he uses that word because a lot of his followers are not particularly bright, and they just, blind trust, that's fine. He said blind trust. Blindness, blind trust, he's blind. Can't see that his daughter is running this. He's blind. He said it's a blind trust. He's blind, and he trusts his daughter to... It's not a blind trust. It's not any close to it. So there is something. This is another prediction, and we'll see if this happens. I don't think it's going to happen. I've predicted this for a little bit. So what you would normally do in this kind of situation, and what other presidents have done, is they liquidate their assets. So you sell everything you got. You put all that money into there's another specific term, but it's a third-party controlled financial vehicle, right? What a blind trust actually is, and then that person manages your assets until you're out of office, right? So you basically get rid of everything you own that's worth money, and somebody else manages it for you. So my feeling is, and this is why, of course, he didn't release his tax returns, that if you were to liquidate all of the assets that this gentleman owns and pay off all his debts, he would likely hand over that $5 to his kids, because I don't think he actually has positive assets. When he declares how much money he has, one of the things he includes in that is his personal feeling on how much his name is worth. And in order to liquidate his assets, as it were, he'd have to sell that name. Utterly. So you can't do that. So I don't think there's actually any money there if you were to liquidate all his holdings. This is part of why he had that meeting with Abe, the Japanese prime minister. By the way, can somebody please tell him it's not Abe? Please tell me he didn't say, Abe! Oh, that was like our president, Abe! But anyway, so the fact that his daughter was in the room while he was talking to a foreign head of state, and they released this picture of them talking, indicates to everyone in the world that if they want to talk to him or reach him, they can go through her. And anywhere that she does business, he's doing business. And so it becomes this just immediate, this is literally what corruption is. And so we'll have to see to the degree that this actually gets investigated or just gets ignored and pushed under the rug. But there are immediate and tremendous blind conflicts of interest. The blind trust is BS. And having his daughter in there on these meetings is immediate and huge corruption and emolument. So, we learned a new word. So, one thing I also wanted to talk about, and I think we're doing okay on time. I don't know. Does this thing show me? Touch it! Touch it! Does it show me how much time is left? Not really. 1.3. Did I put those numbers on my public outline? Oh, man, I'm just so unorganized this evening. And I was waiting so long to do this. But again, guys, I barely know what I'm doing. I'm just talking by myself. I did 1.3 to 1.8 background on theory, discussion of empathy that arises from this. So I had posted something a good long while back, a few months ago, about the differences between my generation, right? Generation X, and the generation following us, the millennials. I'm just kidding. I'm totally screwing around. I don't know if we have thing songs, but X. Millennials. All right, no singing, I got it, Jake. No singing. I know. I already feel you making fun of me. Trust me, I've been made fun for my singing for a very, very long time. Millennials. Anyway, so the theory was that there had been a change in family structure over the generations, and that this had led to some strange things. And I looked up the stats. I found the stats. I'm going to share the stats with you later. They are collected, of course, by insurance companies. One that was formerly owned, I think, for a few moments by the U.S. government by the name of MetLife. They've got some nice PDFs on the generational differences, statistics. And in my generation, Generation X, there were in most families roughly 3.8 people. You have 2 adults, that's 1.8 kids, so you have on average more than one child in these houses. In the millennials, this changes and it goes from 3.8 to 3.3. So you've got 2 adults and then 1 child, 0.3 on average. And I know that's only a 0.5 person difference, but I think that matters. I think that's one of the things that allows this alt-right. And again, part of the alt-right, one of the things that these guys like doing is being ridiculously racist to get reactions from people online, and be incredibly callous and sexist because they don't have that kind of familial empathy that comes from growing up with a brother or a sister, and so that experience, I think, is lost to some degree, and I think that, I don't know. Anyway, it was part of my theory, and I saw it, and the stats ended up showing that that's exactly what had happened, and this is the generation where it changed. And I'm going to do it one more time between Generation X and the millennials. Sorry. I laugh at my jokes too much. That's my wife said I should stop doing that and stop touching my hair so much, but it keeps touching my face. You see this? It's touching my face. Stop touching my face, hair. And then I won't have to touch you. So anyway, a lot of these kids don't know what real racism is, so they like being just total douchebag nozzles online and getting that reaction. And in their real life, they've had to, kind of just suck it for a while, and now they've, found a champion. I did put up a link about this, and I'll put up a link too for the True Believer, the Mass Movement book. It's a great book, really short, really concise, wonderful. The author of it is actually, you read the story about him. He was actually the sociologist, who's blind and did some other stuff, but he wrote this one just perfect book about the nature of these mass movements. I think we can stop this before it gets going on too long, because I do think the actual culture of the U.S. is stronger than this alt-right stuff, but people need to see it and know what it is in order to deal with it. So we're pushing my time. Got a couple other quick points, real quick. One on the settlement. Obviously, if anybody tries to say that blah, blah, blah bullshit, he's a fraud. He settled because he's a fraud and he got busted, right? It's don't let people BS you on the settlement stuff. Slam him on that. The one thing that will help keep this guy in line is what he feels people think, and he wants to make everyone happy. And so the protests and the Facebook stuff is important to keep that on him. Bannon's big strategy is to destroy the media and their credibility. I kind of went back to this because this is important, and I'm almost out of time, so I wanted to make this point really quick near the end. This last week I actually signed up for the New York Times. In Bannon's theory of U.S. media and the liberal media and all that BS, the New York Times is central to it. This is why Trump hates it and keeps tweeting about how evil they are, because he needs to undermine it in order to be able to do a lot of the stuff they want to do. I gotta plug this real quick. I have a website, the new one for this stuff. Probably started with Y. Florence Millennials, yes. Washington Post too. Yeah, no, he's gonna go after Bezos. He's already said he wants to go after Bezos. And if you are a Amazon Prime subscriber, you actually should be able to log into the Washington Post, and that's part of your Amazon Prime stuff. I don't know if you saw Amazon's commercials that they're pushing. They had them all today with the Catholic and the Muslim getting along and sending each other stuff. So yeah, no, that's for real. The alt-right, they hate the multicultural. Every time they see a commercial with, multiple different races on there, they kind of get mad at it. So again, if you have that, once you start to build that ideology, this is how people get deeper and deeper and deeper into it, is because they keep seeing this, and as a reaction, and then they give them this, feed them the line into it about, well, when you say this, then they're going to say that, and then that's only because they're the real racists. So this thing is real. Two quick other points, and I'm going to move some of these to the next show, which will probably be Wednesday, I guess, or Tuesday. Going to have some time this next week, so we'll do a little bit more talking. Been a little bit quieter tonight, which is fine. I think this is more of, like I said, I actually went to a meeting this week with the Colorado Democratic Party, and I do think this is more of a marathon than a sprint, so as long as everybody kind of relaxes into it, we'll be all right. There's a little bit of our electorate, I wrote this called Schrodinger's electorate, and we're going to talk about that next time, because the family's back. We hit our 30-minute mark, so that's what we're going to start out with. It's actually really neat, and it will go into some other fun stuff. Thanks, everybody, for checking it out tonight. I appreciate it. A little bit different tonight, and that's the way it's just going to go. So, everyone, thank you, and we'll call it. I want to finish on something good. Westworld and Walking Dead. These are the two shows I'm watching. Westworld is fun on HBO. It's about automation, which actually I guess goes into the thing that I didn't get to talk about. I'm going to talk about next time, so that doesn't dead. But Walking Dead, I've heard lots of poor things about this season. Guys, when there's books about shows, read the book. And then you'll fucking know that without fucking Negan being able to just be like, hey, what a fucking nice fucking day this is, you fucking morons, you fucking fuck. If you can't say fuck, Negan's not real. That's the whole character. And just the whole, my wife had she put a screenshot up this a while back from the comic. Anyway, fuck. I think I can cuss here. I don't know, and I'm going to actually probably talk to the Facebook people about what I can do. Because I have gotten Facebook timeouts before, a couple times. And they come directly from challenging people, and that's kind of what I would like to do. Not make it too personal, but definitely, can't call folks out. But we did. I'm at my time. I appreciate everybody who dropped by and clicked. I hope some people will do it. I think there's certainly some... dragging these things out and making them longer gets more people to watch, but I want to keep it concise, and I don't want to waste your time. So anybody who makes it to the end and has feedback for that, just let me know. I'm going to do it and then stop doing it and then do it some more and then keep talking about it. Now I'm just blathering on as I see people join in, and I don't know if I should blather or just end it. But it's been long. So anybody, if you have any feedback on what could make it more interesting or engaging, that would be fun. And of course, anything you want to talk about or anything you think that I missed, let me know. But I think that's about it. So family's back. We're going to give it a call. Love you all. Have a wonderful week. Talk to you in a few days. And good night.